You've eaten bananas your whole life, but you've never seen how banana puree is made inside a modern factory. From whole bananas to thick yellow puree, this transformation is surprisingly advanced.
Inside a modern banana puree factory, every batch is processed with extreme precision.
Turning ripe bananas into safe, smooth puree is a process few people ever get to see. Stay with us to see how fresh bananas become thick yellow puree from start to finish.
Every banana puree journey begins in the plantation.
Bananas reach perfect ripeness before harvesting.
Banana quality determines puree texture. Pounds puree texture. Banana harvesting begins carefully. Banana harvesting begins carefully.
Bananas are handled gently to avoid bruising.
Bananas leave the plantation.
Bananas travel to the puree factory.
Bananas arrive at the processing plant.
Banana intake begins.
Only clean bananas enter processing.
Bananas are sorted by size and ripeness. Banana cleaning process begins. Banana surfaces are thoroughly washed.
Mechanical cleaning ensures hygiene.
Bananas are ready for peeling.
Banana peeling begins. Banana peels are separated perfectly.
Human inspection ensures consistency.
Bananas enter the pulping stage.
Bananas are pre-cut for smooth blending.
Bananas begin softening.
Heat helps break down banana fibers. Heat helps break down banana fibers.
Bananas turn into uniform mash.
Banana mash is checked for smoothness.
Banana transformation intensifies.
Banana puree develops its signature smoothness.
Glossy banana puree appears.
Banana puree is collected for refinement.
Banana puree is tested for thickness. Banana puree is filtered for purity.
Air is removed to prevent oxidation. Banana puree texture becomes consistent.
Banana puree is pasteurized for safety.
Banana puree freshness is preserved.
Banana puree waits for packaging.
Banana puree batch is approved.
Banana puree packaging begins. Banana puree enters its packaging.
Banana puree freshness is protected.
Banana puree products move forward.
Banana puree gains identity.
Banana puree shelf life is marked.
Banana puree quality is verified.
Banana puree is packed. Banana puree cartons are secured. Banana puree pallets are prepared. Banana puree is stored safely. Banana puree cold chain begins.
Banana puree stock is tracked.
Banana puree distribution begins. Banana puree transport begins. Banana puree shipment is secured.
Banana puree moves toward distribution.
Banana puree travels long distances.
Banana puree reaches retail hubs. Banana puree enters regional storage.
Banana puree reaches consumers.
Banana puree displays quality.
Banana puree attracts families.
Banana puree is purchased.
Banana puree goes home.
Banana puree stays fresh. Banana puree is ready.
Banana puree looks rich.
Banana puree achieves perfect thickness.
Banana puree becomes a favorite.
Banana puree connects farm to factory.
Bananas transform into smooth puree.
Banana puree production continue.
Banana puree processing is carefully controlled. Banana puree hygiene is maintained. Banana puree factory reduces waste.
Banana puree standards remain high.
Banana puree is ready for markets.
Banana puree ships worldwide. Banana puree final packaging stands out.
Banana purée production continue. Banana purée cycle repeats.
Banana puree production never pauses. Banana puree systems work in harmony.
Banana puree safety rules stay strict. Banana puree production is digitally monitored.
Banana puree integrity is verified.
Banana puree leaves the factory.
Banana puree travels to consumers.
Banana puree becomes part of daily meals.
Banana puree integrates into recipes.
Banana puree enhances flavor.
Banana puree remains versatile. Banana purée enriche dessert.
Banana puree preserves real banana essence.
Banana purée, finale présentation.
Banana purees earns trust. Banana puree shows perfect texture.
Banana puree completes its journey from fresh bananas to thick yellow puree.
Banana puree packaging continues with precision.
Banana puree products are prepared for boxing. Banana puree is securely boxed for transport.
Banana puree cartons are sealed tightly. Banana puree cartons are arranged for shipment.
Banana puree pallets gain protective stability. Banana puree enters controlled storage. Banana puree is kept at ideal conditions.
Banana puree cold chain is maintained.
Banana puree inventory is digitally tracked.
Banana puree orders are prepared.
Banana puree transport begins.
Banana puree moves toward distribution hubs. Banana puree travels across long distances. Banana puree distribution routes are calculated.
Banana puree heads to nearby markets.
Banana puree reaches retail stores.
Banana puree packaging shows freshness.
Banana puree attracts consumers.
Banana puree is purchased.
Banana puree goes home.
Banana puree remains fresh.
Banana puree adds convenience. Banana puree enhances recipes.
Banana puree fits every occasion.
Banana puree reaches global markets.
Banana puree enters international trade.
Banana puree travels overseas. Banana puree continues its cold chain abroad.
Banana puree delivers universal taste.
Banana puree preserves natural goodness.
Banana puree logistics operates seamlessly.
Banana puree standards are maintained worldwide.
Banana puree safety remains guaranteed. Banana puree production reduces waste.
Banana puree supports sustainability.
Banana puree factory works round the clock.
Banana puree production restarts daily.
Banana puree follows a precise process.
Banana puree stands ready for the world.
Banana puree completes everyday meals.
Banana puree factory runs with consistency. Banana puree precision is monitored constantly. Banana puree connects agriculture to technology.
Banana purée production remain efficient.
Banana puree meets international standards.
Banana puree expands globally.
Banana puree reaches new destinations.
Banana puree offers multiple options.
Banana puree production never stops. Banana puree is approved for shipment.
Banana puree maintains its texture.
Banana puree keeps real banana essence.
Banana puree enhances every dish.
Banana puree stands out on shelves.
Banana puree begins the next cycle. Banana puree production restarts. The banana puree undergoes transformation, ensuring freshness and quality in every package. Banana puree machinery stays automated.
Banana puree passes final quality tests.
Banana puree reaches the final aisle.
Banana puree becomes a favorite treat.
Banana puree fits every home.
Banana puree production relies on teamwork.
Banana puree lines work non-stop.
Banana puree reaches its final, perfected form. Banana puree earns global trust.
Banana puree connects farms to the world.
This is how fresh bananas transform into thick yellow puree for the world.